Welcome to Louisiana Unfiltered, where we delve deep into the untold stories that resonate within our state. In this week's episode, we confront a tragedy that shook a Louisiana community to its core: the untimely deaths of two bright, aspiring high school best friends at the hands of a police officer. It was December 31st, 2022. In the heart of West Baton Rouge Parish, Addis police officer David Cothran joined in on a pursuit, igniting a high-speed chase that would alter lives forever. Amidst the chaos, Maggie Dunn and Gill, innocently navigating the streets with a green light, found themselves in the path of devastation as Officer Cauthron, in pursuit of a suspect, blew through a red light and collided with their vehicle. As the community grappled with the aftermath, the truth emerged in a court of law. Officer Cauthron pleaded guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of negligent injuring, facing a sobering sentence of 10 years behind bars. But behind the headlines lie unanswered questions, unspoken truths, and unheard voices. Today, weeks ahead of his incarceration, Officer Cauthron breaks his silence for the very first time. In an exclusive interview, we aim to unravel the mysteries surrounding that fateful day. What transpired in those crucial moments? What led to the tragic collision? And amidst the wreckage, what compelled Officer Cauthron to utter the haunting words, "This is gonna hurt"? Join us as we navigate the depths of this heart-wrenching tragedy, featuring an intimate conversation with Officer Cauthron himself. This is Louisiana Unfiltered, where we tell the raw stories and the truths are unfiltered. Welcome back. We are joined by David Cothran and his wife. David, I guess let's start with you. Well, to both of you guys, y'all reached out to us asking us to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Why?
Well, there was a lot of false information put out about me before the trial, after all of this happened, and I wanted to clear the air, basically, of all of lies that was told to the DA's office, to the family, to the families. A lot of stuff that was told to them was not true.
By who?
There was stuff being said by my former employer, Poincare Parish Sheriff's Office, basically that I quit the Sheriff's Office because they put a GPS in my truck. I rode around with that GPS for 6 months before I quit. Didn't have a problem with the GPS. I left Poincare for more money and better benefits for my family. When I left Poincare, I was a corporal making $14.56 an hour. I took a job as a basic officer in Addis for $17.33 an hour. Plus, the town of Addis was paying for insurance for my entire family. Poincare was only covering me. Anything else that I wanted, I had to pay for out of my paycheck. People were saying that I got fired from a previous job for the same thing. Poincare and Addis is the only 2 law enforcement agencies in the state of Louisiana that I've ever worked for, besides Department of Corrections. Wasn't no high-speed pursuits at a prison.
Well, let's fill our viewership in. Let's go back. So you're an Addis police officer. Take us back to December 31st, 2022.
I woke up that morning. I wasn't really feeling that good, but I went to work because I was the only one working. Mm-hmm. My wife wasn't working at the time. We needed the money. I met some of my fellow officers at the donut shop in Addis. I don't eat donuts. I'm diabetic. I can't eat donuts. So I just sat there and chilled out with them. We got a call that morning about the cameras in Bruley had picked up a wanted person registered to a car. We pursued that car, caught up to him. Turned out not to be the person that we was looking for. It was somebody else. Still wasn't really feeling that good. I met my wife at the grocery store because she had to do some grocery shopping, so I had to give her my debit card. Then I left. I went back to the office to use the bathroom. Got another call. Well, my partner who was on the road at that time got a call, and then I went out there to assist him about remaining after being forbid. And after that, we pretty much went to lunch. It was a slow morning. I mean, that's basically all we had was that one call besides patrolling and making traffic stops. While we was at lunch at the Mexican restaurant in Bruley, the call came out about Baton Rouge PD involved in a pursuit heading into our parish. The call came out to West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office first. According to them, they was all tied up with a bust at the racetrack in Port Allen. So none of them could respond. So the dispatch called on Addis and Bruley officers to respond. We responded, and that's when the pursuit started.
Take me through the pursuit.
Bruley officer was the first one to get into the pursuit. I think I was last in line at that point. We went through Addis, down into Plaquemine. The suspect, first of all, the pursuit was put out as suspect was stole a vehicle and was suspected of home invasion. So that's why we joined in the pursuit. It wasn't just because of a stolen vehicle.
Did you know at this point that Baton Rouge police knew who this guy was?
No.
No, they didn't.
The only thing we got was a suspect vehicle color. It was I believe it was a white Nissan Altima, was all we was told. We had no idea who the person's name was. To this day, I still don't know the guy's name. I never learned his name. He made a U-turn at right before the main gate in Dow Chemical. I can see him making the U-turn. I was a little further back in the pursuit. I made a U-turn and was able to get behind him. That put me first in line in the pursuit, at which point I didn't touch my radio no more. That's what we was trained to do. Second call always calls out the pursuit. First call, concentrate on driving. I can hear them calling for spike strips on the radio. I couldn't respond. So I let some space get in between me and him, just in case he was spiked. I don't end up spiking my own vehicle. Made it back through Addis, got into Bruley. As we approached the intersection where the accident happened, I made the comment of, fuck, this is gonna hurt, because he was going under the red light and I can see cars coming. I thought he was gonna get into a wreck, which is why I said what I said. Mm-hmm. It was put out like I said it because I knew I was gonna get into a wreck. I never saw those girls' car. Only thing I saw was a red pickup truck that had pulled out in front of me, at which point I was changing lanes to avoid running into the rear of him. And then all I seen was a silver flash came in front of me, and that's when the accident happened. I never saw those girls' car.
What went through your mind in that very moment?
I thought I was dead. Because at that point, everything went black. It wasn't until maybe about 2 or 3 seconds later that I realized I hit somebody. Until we came to a complete stop, all I could do was hold on. My mind was completely blank. I couldn't really see anything inside the vehicle because of the smoke from the airbags.
I mean, walk me through that moment when you're there, when you finally get out of the car. Do you realize what's happened?
I didn't get out of the car right away. I was told not to by the fire department.
Because he called me right after it happened.
Not right. It wasn't right after. It was like
not right after, but
10 minutes after it happened, somebody told me that, well, I can hear somebody saying he's 10-7. I thought they was talking about me because I wasn't moving. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see.
10-7, for people who don't know, means somebody has died.
Yeah. I didn't know they was talking about somebody in the other vehicle. At that point, I didn't know who was in the other vehicle or how many people was in the other vehicle. I didn't find out until later when I was at the hospital that 2 young girls had lost their life.
So you get pulled out of the car and you're immediately taken to a hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us your injuries.
I had four cracked ribs on one side due to the way I wore my vest. My radio was in my vest, and when the airbag imploded, it hit that radio and cracked ribs on my right side. I had a real big knot on my left leg and was bruised from my groin area all the way down to my ankle. I had a concussion, burns from the airbags, and that's about it.
So you're in the hospital, and how did you find out?
My chief came and saw me.
And said what?
And I asked, because I heard somebody had died in the wreck, and I asked how many people died, and he told me two young girls. At that point, I broke down. My wife was there at that point before he got there. I broke down because that's the last thing I wanted to happen.
Right.
I'm a father of 4. I love my kids. I love kids in general. I never wanted anything like this to happen.
Let's hear from you, ma'am.
I mean, even when we was in the store, he said he wasn't feeling good. And I told him to come home. But, we need the money, so he decided to go back to work. And then that's when I just talked to him. He said, I'm going to lunch. Then he called back about 10 minutes after that, and he was like, well, I got into an accident, and I think someone's dead. And I'm like, oh, my God. So I got in the car, and I drove down there where he was just to check on him or whatever. But I didn't think it was that bad. And then the chief came, and he was like, well, everything is going to be on the criminal. It's all good. It's all handled. And then the next
night,
they called and said, well.
It was either the next night or the day, same night.
The next night. They called and said, well, we're not going to come and get you because we know you have kids. So can your wife drop you off at the police station?
Well, let's back up. Let's back up before all this happens, though. So he calls you 10, 15 minutes after the crash. So at this point someone's died.
Yeah.
I guess because the families, one of the big things that they did not appreciate is they said, well, why didn't he even come to anything at the actual scene? So were you stuck in the car, or was there a reason you didn't try to go towards the car?
By the time the Bruley officer and the other Addis officer stopped at the scene of the wreck. I think a few of the Baton Rouge PD officers stopped, but a lot of them, I was told, kept going. I didn't come to the scene because they told me not to get out of the car until the ambulance got there. By the time the ambulance got there, they pulled me out of the car, put me in the back of the ambulance, and took me to the hospital. Yeah. By the time I was discharged, everything was cleared up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to reach out to the family way before all of this happened the day of my sentencing. I was told not to by my lawyer, by the DA's office. I was told under no circumstances was I allowed to contact that family, either one of the families. So they was all upset at me because I never reached out to see I was sorry. I wanted to. I was told not to, that they didn't want to hear from me.
But do you understand where they're coming from? They've lost children.
I completely understand where they was coming from. But a lot of the things that they said in the courtroom, and when they read their letters, they were saying that I never said I was sorry. I wanted to. I wanted to attend the funeral. I wanted to make my condolences because I never wanted anything like this to happen. I was told under no circumstances was I allowed to contact that family. Even in February, after all of this stuff happened, I was working at Wendy's in Plaquemine. I was forced to quit that job by the DA's office because one of the family members, and I don't know who, came through the drive-thru while I was working, and they didn't want to be served by a murderer. I was told that if I didn't quit that job, that they was going to put me back in jail and raise my bond. So I quit the same day. And they still tried to do it, put me back in jail anyway. I wanted so many times to reach out to that family, both of those families, to go visit that young man in the hospital. But I was told under no circumstances was I allowed to contact that family. I stayed in Addis all the way until July, until we moved back to New Roads. I wanted to reach out. They told me they didn't want me to do that.
So what do you say to them now?
I am so sorry for what happened. I am deeply sorry. I ask God for forgiveness every day. I don't expect them to forgive me anytime soon. But regardless of what DA Tony Clayton said, I didn't create that situation. The suspect that stole his family's vehicle, which I didn't know it was his family's vehicle until later, created that situation. I was only trying to do my job. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was just trying to do my job, what I was paid to do. I am so sorry for their loss. I can only imagine how they feel. And I know they hate me, and I can't blame them. But I am so sorry for what happened to those two young ladies and that young man.
How old are your children?
My oldest one is 14. My little boy is 11. He'll be 12 in December. My younger daughter is 9. She'll be 10 at the end of this month. And my youngest daughter is 7. She'll be 8 in October.
So you get it.
Yes.
You understand what a child means.
Yes. And to be completely honest, the 3 oldest ones are not mine biologically. Just the youngest one is. But I love those kids with all my heart and soul. And I can imagine how I would feel if something were to happen to them. I can imagine. And like I said, I don't expect them to forgive me. I know they hate me. But it was an accident. I never meant to do this on purpose. I never meant for any of this to happen. None of it. And if I can trade places with those girls, I would.
That's saying a lot.
I've asked several times, God, why not just take me instead of those 2 babies? I've asked God that several times. I wish that he would have, but I know it would hurt my family as much as it hurts them. I would trade places with them in a heartbeat.
There was a lot that was said in the courtroom during the victim impact statements. When you guys reached out to me, you told me you had 2 pages written that you wanted to say to the family.
Yes.
Why did you not say all of that?
My lawyer instructed me not to.
What did your lawyer tell you?
To just read what I had wrote about their family. That they didn't want to hear anything about my family's problems. That the DA's office told him that the family didn't want to hear anything about my family, that they didn't care about my family. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told. So I had to basically scratch out everything that I wrote about my family, which I still had a lot of stuff that I wanted to say on those papers. But he basically whittled it down to a paragraph of just me apologizing, in which the families didn't want to hear that anyway.
Well, and I've spoken to both families in depth. I think you know that. And their entire thing is that the sorry is too little too late.
And I understand that it's too little too late. But once again, I wanted to reach out way back since last year, but was told not to contact them. that if I contacted them, I was going to be in more trouble than what I was already in. So, Miss Karen, what am I supposed to do?
Well, and I guess let me say this. You guys reached out to speak, right? I did not reach out to you guys. Y'all have never spoken out at all.
No.
I was told to stay off of social media.
Off of social media.
Do not contact any of any of the news outlets or you. I was told not to contact or say anything to anybody. That's what I was instructed to do.
What about now?
It's done.
What's it going to change now? I still have to serve 10 years in prison.
From your side, I guess take us to after the crash. You go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Pick it up from there, I guess.
Well, I was there, and his chief came in, and he was like, he told him that 2 girls got killed, and we both cried and stuff, and he was just saying that everything was going to be on the criminal, and everything was fine, and we didn't have to worry. And then that night, the next night, we get that call saying that he has to turn himself in, and so it's like
that they put a warrant out for.
Yeah, they put a warrant out for his arrest. So,
but they didn't want to come get me in front of my kids.
He hugged the kids and everything, and I brought him to the police station, and that was it. And it was horrible. Like, I cried for days. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. And it was horrible. Like, the people in the community was trying to get us to move away. Like, the landlord came and she was like, well, are y'all moving? Because a lot of people, they was getting phone calls saying that she had a murderer staying there and all this. And it was a mess. Someone was knocking on my door. I don't know who it was. It was scary. It was a scary situation. I had to get my dad. My dad came. He stayed with me for a few days. And it was horrible.
We ultimately ended up pulling our kids out of the bullet schools.
I pulled them out of school because I didn't want them to go to school and be hearing, what was going on. Someone asked my daughter, about the situation, and she's like 7 years old. So I pulled them out because I don't want them to, be asked those questions. So it was sad. It's a sad situation, and I just we came here to talk and to clear the air because I don't want them to look at him as being an animal. And that's what the world sees him as now, And he's not that type of person. He has a heart, so.
What was your response to hear 2 young girls died?
It was hard because, like he said, we have kids. And I can only imagine what they're going through. And it was hard because I know he's a big teddy bear. And I know him hearing that, it hurt him. So it's like, it was a sad situation. I know he didn't mean to, kill anyone because he was just doing his job. I mean, he said he wasn't trying to be a hero. But that's what a police officer is supposed to do. That's what that's their job, to be a hero. My kids look at him as a hero. And it's just, everybody's saying, he wanted to be a hero and all of this, and he wanted to save the day. That's what they're supposed to do. I mean, you can't stop the pursuits altogether because criminals are going to do it, and they're going to be like, okay, all we have to do is run, and they're not going to chase us. So, I mean, it's just going to get worse from here if they stop doing the pursuits altogether. I mean, it's just something better needs to be done.
Why did you reach out asking to speak?
Just to, show the world that, he's a good person and he deserves to speak out and to say his part and have that time to apologize to the family how he wants to and not do it in one paragraph. He had way more to say on that paper than just one paragraph, so. And then with the pursuit thing, I mean, I don't know, it can be a way to solve it. Like if they do like the emergency broadcast system, how they do the weather. If they do it like that and put it out so everybody would know where it's at, and everybody would have a chance to stop and pay attention and look and, just watch out for it. I mean, because then at the end of the day, you still have the road, the road rules. If you see the emergency lights and sirens and all that, you're supposed to stop, pull over. See, they don't even do that for the ambulance. It was on the news about how people wasn't stopping for the ambulance. You know, you see the emergency lights and the sirens and all that, pull over, you know, and that would give people a chance to pay attention, because sometimes they might have their radio on and they might not hear the sirens, you know, they might not see the lights and stuff like that because they're not paying attention. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, it can help out a lot if they do it like that.
And I do want to talk about pursuits, but David, let me go back to, if you could go back to that day.
I would have never went to work. Because I wasn't feeling good. I was having some stomach problems that morning. I would have never went to work. If I'd have knew the outcome, I'd have stayed at home. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. I've been trying to get out of law enforcement because of the politics in it. I was supposed to quit being a cop in November of 2022. But I wasn't able to find another job in time, because I was supposed to start culinary school in January. But I wasn't able to do it because of the job situation. I wasn't able to find another job in time. I'm not the type of person to just quit a job without nothing to fall back on.
And, I mean, I've been talking to the family from almost the very, very, very beginning, both families. And, yeah, there's hatred. They've also forgiven you. Some have forgiven you. Some, it's going to take time, if ever. And that's the absolute truth. Some have had some...
I understand that. And I honestly understand that. And I don't hate them for the things that they said about me in the courtroom. I understand where it came from. I understand that they're hurt. I'm not completely stupid to the fact that I took their children's life. I'm not completely heartless to say that I don't care how they feel. I do. I'm not the type of person that could just... It's been a year and a half since the accident, and I still have anxiety attacks every time I pass that intersection. I don't even go see my mom who lives in Plaquemine anymore because I don't want to pass that intersection anymore. The only other way would be to go all the way around through Gross Tate. Both my mom and my dad and all three of my brothers live in Plaquemine. I don't go see them. I talk to them on the phone. But I don't go see them because I don't want to go through that intersection. I still have anxiety attacks. I still wake up in cold sweats at night. I still don't sleep that much at night, even though I take medicine to help me sleep. I don't take it because I can't take it. I've contemplated suicide so many times, but I can't leave my family without somebody to take care of them, even though I have to do that anyway because I'm going to jail. I completely understand that they hate me. I don't blame them for hating me. I just want them to know that I did not reach out to them because I was told not to, not because I didn't care.
If you can say anything to Liam Dunn, the third person in the car, what do you say?
Pretty much the same thing I said to him when we was in the courtroom. I'm so sorry for all of your injuries, for losing your sister. I don't have any sisters, but I have 3 brothers, and I can only imagine if something happened to one of them. And we're all older. Like, my oldest brother is 53. My youngest brother is 41. We're all older, and we've been together all of our lives. And I can only imagine, even in our old age now, that if something happened to one of them, it would completely destroy me. So, to him, I am so sorry for him first losing his sister and then all the injuries And for him not to be even able to go to his sister's funeral, I completely apologize for all of that. And I wish I could take it all back, but I can't.
So when it came to time to go as far as trial, did you choose to take a plea and avoid trial? Or how did this work?
My lawyer basically advised me that there was no way we could win. And that if I took it to trial, the judge was going to give me 25 years. I'm 43 years old. I have medical problems. I'm diabetic. I know what the kind of standard of medical care that an inmate gets in Department of Corrections. I've worked for Department of Corrections. I've worked in jails before I became a road deputy. So I pretty much knew that if I took it to trial and lost and got 25 years, I was going to die in prison.
But did you at any point think that, hey, I can be found not guilty?
He basically told me that the way a jury thinks, they don't think about the law. They think about their heart. And with some of the photos that they took of the accident scene, that there was no way that a jury in West Baton Rouge Parish was going to ever find me not guilty.
Forget a jury, forget all of that. I'm talking to just David. David and his heart. What in your heart did you feel you needed for it to happen criminally?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you feel you should be going to jail?
No. I understand that the two young ladies lost their lives. But there was no criminal intent. I didn't wake up that morning thinking, well, I'm going to go kill somebody with my car today. I despise police pursuits. Never wanted to be involved in them. But that was part of the job. All I was doing was my job. I made a bad decision to enter that intersection. I admitted that. But I never saw that car. If I would have, I would have swerved to miss them. I would have took the chance of killing myself. But I never saw that vehicle.
But now looking back, or even in that moment, you guys were doing what, 90 miles an hour?
I was told I was doing 86.
So roughly close to about 90 miles. And the way this small town is, the speed limit on Highway 1 is what? Or LA 1 is what? About 45?
Through that area, 45. From the first red light in Addis to I believe the high school is 45. So and then it goes up to 55.
Close to double. But was it worth putting lives at risk, and in this case even killing two people, for a pursuit?
Now that I look back at it, no. Especially now, knowing now that Baton Rouge PD knew who he was, knew where he lived, knew that the car was his daddy's. Why even start the pursuit if they knew all that? We knew none of that. Only thing dispatch put out to us was stolen vehicle, suspect, armed, possibly guilty of home invasion and armed robbery, because we was told that he broke in somebody's house with a gun, stole a car, but somebody was home. That's all.
Not knowing he broke into his
Not
own parents'
that
home.
He broke into his. We didn't know he broke into his daddy's house.
Took
and
his
stole his dad's car. We didn't know any of that.
But while you're in the pursuit, did any part of you say, this is not safe, I need to call it?
I was getting ready to call it. So was the other two officers from Bruley and Addis. We were getting ready to call it. I wish we'd have called it sooner. I honestly to God wish we would have called it sooner. I wish somebody would have called it sooner. I wish I would have called it sooner.
I'm sure you've also heard that the families are fighting to make some changes when it comes to pursuits. How do you feel when it comes to pursuits?
Like I said, I don't like them. It's too many variables that can go on during a pursuit that can lead to something like this. And it's not always the officer's fault. It's not always the criminal's fault. It's not always the public's fault. There's too many factors that can happen, and all it takes is a split second for something to go wrong.
Do you think a policy needs to be put in place, though, that, hey, if speeds reach in excess of this, or there are vehicles in front of you, or whatever the case might be, but some policy in place when to completely stop a pursuit?
Yes, I do.
What do you see that policy being?
I don't know. There's so many factors that can. One would be the severity of the crime.
But in that very moment, you may not know all the details.
True. But it still has to factor in. It still has to factor in.
Why did it factor in for you? What crime? At what level in your head was this, hey, it's severe enough that I need to pursue him?
Home invasion, suspect armed.
What were you thinking happened?
He broke into somebody's house at gunpoint and took their keys.
Not knowing it was his own family.
Not knowing it was his own family. Didn't know it was his own family. If I did, I'd have never even joined in the pursuit. If we had that information readily available when they dispatched it to us, I would have made the decision right then and there. I'm not chasing him. That's his daddy's car. He can get it back. Or Baton Rouge PD already know who he is. Put a warrant out for his arrest. I'm not chasing him. It ain't even my call.
That's the other thing. This was so out of jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. It's a Baton Rouge police call. We're a parish over. And several communities over. Why even step in?
That's our job. We have rules that I have to respond to every call dispatched to me. If not, that's dereliction of duty, and I could have been fired. And as I said, I was the only one working, supporting my wife and 4 kids at the time. Our rent was $1,000 a month. I couldn't afford to lose my job without having anything to fall back on. In hindsight, I wish I would have said no. I wish I would have came home that day. I wish I would have never went to work that day. But it was a holiday weekend, and I knew they weren't going to be able to get nobody to come out and cover for me. And on top of that, my family needed the money. So I made the decision to go to work.
So you don't go to trial. You pleaded guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of negligent injuring. And you will serve 10 years. Correct?
With good behavior, 6.5.
Okay.
With good time.
But there are conditions to that.
Yes.
One of those conditions is you need to go into schools and talk awareness, correct?
That's what they said in court, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to say to those kids. Awareness of what? Be aware that I don't know. I don't even know who's supposed. Am I supposed to set that up? Is my parole officer supposed to set that up? Is the DA's office supposed to set that up? I don't know what the procedure is for that, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to say to those kids. They also said I have to go speak to law enforcement. I know exactly what I'm going to say to them.
What?
Don't get involved in the pursuit. I don't care what it's for. Get fired because it ain't worth this. Because at the drop of a hat, your department will cut you loose. All of your so-called brothers in blue will turn their back on you. I had one guy that called to check on me out of everybody in Addis Police Department. Out of everybody that I work with in Point Capee, I had 2 people to call and check on me. All of the people that were supposedly my friends and my brothers, haven't heard from them. Haven't heard from the chief, which I heard he's retired now, and they got a new chief, which he was the assistant chief when I was there. Haven't heard from him. It's not worth it. Find anybody that's thinking about getting into law enforcement. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth the pay. It ain't worth the headache. It ain't worth the drama. And it's not worth this. I have to live with this for the rest of my life. And please believe that I will live with it for the rest of my life.
When do you start serving your time?
May 23rd.
What has it been like between when you were sentenced to now? Just knowing you turn yourself in a few more weeks.
It's been hell. I've tried to stay working, but I lost my job yesterday. Because of the conviction, I was told that I could no longer work there at an auto zone, making $10.50 an hour. So my family lost that income, and no one else is going to hire me because of that conviction, especially not for 3 weeks. So it's all left up to my wife. That's my biggest thing, that I'm not able to support my family. That for the next 6.5 years, they're on their own. She has nobody to help her. Both my parents are on fixed income. She's on her own, and that's what kills me the most.
What's next for you then?
I don't know. Just working and trying to support the kids. I'm just trying to go to school right now online to get a better job, so I can support them better. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard, and it's gonna be hard for them when he's gone, and to see him give himself up or whatever, So, especially our baby, it's gonna be hard on her.
That's my shadow.
Yeah.
She follows me around the house. Like I said, she's 7 years old, be 8 in October, and she's scared to sleep anywhere else but between me and her.
Yeah. And they cry
because she don't want me to go. She's scared to go to school every morning because she's scared when she comes home I'm not going to be there. It's been hell. It's been hell since that day. It's gotten worse since the sentencing. But I've told them all that they need to be strong. They need to be strong for their mama. They need to help their mama out as much as they can. And that I will try to call them every night. I'll write them every week. And I don't know where they're going to send me, but I know I can't stay in West Baton Rouge. I've already been told that. So I have no idea where I'm going. So I've told them that their mama's going to try to bring them to come see me as much as she can.
If you can say anything to the families, what do you say?
That, I don't know. That he's sorry. I know he's sorry. And I know that he didn't mean to take their children's lives. I mean, if they only knew who he was and the person he is, then they would understand that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we know that they're hurting too. We understand that. I mean, it's a lot losing a child. So We understand that. And I know that they're upset with him right now, but I just hope that they would forgive him and see that, it was an accident.
Is there anything else you guys want to add that I did not ask? Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Just that I'm sorry to both families, to Liam. Words can't express how sorry I am. I can't say that enough.
I do want to ask that Bruley, Addis, West Baton Rouge, it's a close-knit community, very close-knit. They all bleed together. Bruley turns right into Addis. One foot over, you're in Addis, and then Addis bleeds right into Plaquemine. It is a very close-knit community.
I know. I'm from that community. My grandfather owned a house on Bird Heights subdivision until the day he died. I used to spend every summer in Addis. I knew a lot of people growing up there. I still have family that lives in Addis. Not so much Bruley, but all my cousins went to Bruley High School, played football against them for years when I was going to White Castle High. I'm familiar with the area. I knew a lot of people in the area. A lot of the people in Addis knew me. They knew my grandfather. They know my dad. A lot of the people that live there now are not originally from Bruley or Addis. They moved there when that new subdivision got built. But a lot of the people that lived there, a lot of the older people, they knew who I was.
What do you say to the community? In this case, I think you guys know this, an entire community hurt.
Yes, I know they did.
Talk to the community.
As a community as a whole, I'm sorry for what happened, but it truly was an accident. Nothing would have made me take those young girls' life on purpose. Nothing would have made me hit that car on purpose. I never saw the car. I wish I could take it all back. I wish I could trade places with those girls. But I can't. I can't take it back, no matter how much I want to. And I'm sorry for all the pain that I have caused to the families, to Liam, to the communities. I mean, that's all I can say to him. Is that I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Is there anything else you want to add that I did not ask, ma'am?
No.
Well, I appreciate both of you guys coming on. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate your time. To our listeners, we appreciate you and your time. And until next time, we will see you on the next episode of Louisiana Unfiltered. Welcome to Louisiana Unfiltered, where we delve deep into the untold stories that resonate within our state. In this week's episode, we confront a tragedy that shook a Louisiana community to its core: the untimely deaths of two bright, aspiring high school best friends at the hands of a police officer. It was December 31st, 2022. In the heart of West Baton Rouge Parish, Addis police officer David Cothran joined in on a pursuit, igniting a high-speed chase that would alter lives forever. Amidst the chaos, Maggie Dunn and Caroline Gill, innocently navigating the streets with a green light, found themselves in the path of devastation as Officer Cauthron, in pursuit of a suspect, blew through a red light and collided with their vehicle. As the community grappled with the aftermath, the truth emerged in a court of law. Officer Cauthron pleaded guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of negligent injuring, facing a sobering sentence of 10 years behind bars. But behind the headlines lie unanswered questions, unspoken truths, and unheard voices. Today, weeks ahead of his incarceration, Officer Cauthron breaks his silence for the very first time. In an exclusive interview, we aim to unravel the mysteries surrounding that fateful day. What transpired in those crucial moments? What led to the tragic collision? And amidst the wreckage, what compelled Officer Cauthron to utter the haunting words, "This is gonna hurt"? Join us as we navigate the depths of this heart-wrenching tragedy, featuring an intimate conversation with Officer Cauthron himself. This is Louisiana Unfiltered, where we tell the raw stories and the truths are unfiltered.